In the quiet town of Willowbrook, nestled beneath the shadow of an ancient forest, there lay a cemetery. It was a place of solemn tranquility during the day and eerie silence by night. The townsfolk often spoke of its mysteries, whispering tales of restless spirits and haunted souls wandering amongst the tombstones. One fateful evening, as the moon cast its ghostly glow over the graves, something sinister stirred beneath the earth. It started with a low rumble, barely audible, like the murmur of distant thunder. But soon, the ground began to tremble, and the once peaceful cemetery was thrown into chaos. All at once, the graves burst open, as if ripped apart by unseen hands. Coffins splintered, and dirt erupted into the air, showering the tombstones with debris. It was a ghastly sight, a macabre ballet of death and decay. The townsfolk, awakened by the commotion, stumbled out of their homes to witness the horror unfolding before their eyes. Some gasped in terror, while others fell to their knees in prayer, fearing the end of days was upon them. From the gaping holes in the earth emerged figures clad in burial shrouds, their hollow eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. They were the restless dead, awakened from their eternal slumber by some unknown force. With unearthly moans, they shuffled forth, their skeletal hands reaching out for the living. Some sought vengeance for the injustices of their past lives, while others simply hungered for the warmth of the living flesh. Panic swept through the town like wildfire as the undead horde descended upon the unsuspecting villagers. The streets became a battleground, with desperate cries filling the night air as the living fought for their very survival. But no matter how valiantly they fought, the townsfolk were outnumbered and outmatched. The undead seemed unstoppable, their ranks swelling with each fresh corpse they claimed. As dawn broke on the horizon, Willowbrook lay in ruins, its streets littered with the bodies of the fallen. The cemetery, once a place of quiet repose, now stood as a testament to the horrors that had befallen the town. And though the sun rose high in the sky, casting its golden light upon the ravaged landscape, the shadows of the night still lingered, haunting the hearts and minds of those who had survived the nightmare. For in Willowbrook, the dead had risen, and they would never rest again. Amidst the chaos, a lone figure emerged from the turmoil, his eyes burning with determination. It was Dr. Victor Graves, the town's eccentric scientist and self-proclaimed expert in the occult. Armed with a mixture of ancient texts and modern technology, Dr. Graves had long been obsessed with the mysteries of life and death. And now, faced with the undead horde threatening to consume his beloved town, he knew it was time to put his knowledge to the test. With a makeshift arsenal of makeshift weapons and protective gear, Dr. Graves led a ragtag group of survivors into the heart of the cemetery, determined to put an end to the nightmare once and for all. But as they ventured deeper into the labyrinthine maze of tombstones and crypts, they soon realized they were not alone. Shadowy figures lurked in the darkness, whispering ominous warnings and beckoning them ever closer to their doom. Undeterred, Dr. Graves pressed on, his mind racing with theories and hypotheses. He knew there had to be a reason for the undead uprising, a hidden truth waiting to be uncovered. Finally, they reached the center of the cemetery, where a massive mausoleum loomed ominously against the night sky. With a sense of trepidation, Dr. Graves approached the ancient structure, his heart pounding in his chest. Inside, they found a chamber filled with arcane symbols and crumbling manuscripts, evidence of dark rituals performed long ago. And at the center of it all stood a sarcophagus, its lid carved with intricate designs depicting scenes of death and resurrection. As Dr. Graves examined the ancient artifacts, a chilling realization washed over him. The cemetery had been built upon a site of great power, a place where the boundaries between life and death were thin. And now, those boundaries had been breached, unleashing a force beyond comprehension. But before he could make sense of it all, the ground began to shake once more, and with a deafening roar, the sarcophagus burst open, revealing a figure shrouded in darkness. It was the necromancer, the ancient sorcerer who had long been entombed within the mausoleum. And now, freed from his prison, he sought to claim the souls of the living and the dead alike, his eyes blazing with unholy fire. With a cry of defiance, Dr. Graves and his companions launched themselves into battle, their weapons clashing against the necromancer's dark magic. It was a fight for the fate of Willowbrook, a struggle between light and darkness, life and death. And in the end, it was Dr. Graves who emerged victorious, his knowledge and bravery proving to be the town's salvation. With a final incantation, he banished the necromancer back to the depths of the underworld, restoring peace to the cemetery once more. As the sun rose on a new day, the people of Willowbrook emerged from their homes, their hearts filled with gratitude for the man who had saved them from the brink of destruction. And though the scars of the undead uprising would never fully heal, They knew that as long as Dr. Victor Graves stood watch over their town, they would always be safe from the darkness that lurked in the shadows. As the dust settled and the last echoes of battle faded into the morning light, the townsfolk gathered around Dr. Graves, their faces etched with gratitude and awe. They hailed him as a hero, a savior who had risked everything to protect their home from the forces of darkness. But amidst the celebration, a sense of unease lingered in the air. For though the necromancer had been vanquished and the undead driven back into their graves, the mysteries of the cemetery remained unsolved. Dr. Graves knew that the events of the night were just the beginning, a harbinger of greater dangers yet to come. And so, he vowed to delve deeper into the secrets of the cemetery, to uncover the truth behind its dark power and ensure that Willowbrook would never again fall victim to such horrors. With the support of the townsfolk behind him, Dr. Graves set out on his quest for knowledge, scouring ancient tomes and consulting with scholars from far and wide. Together, they pieced together the history of the cemetery, tracing its origins back to a time long forgotten. They learned of the rituals that had been performed on the land, of the blood sacrifices and dark bargains struck with powers beyond mortal comprehension. And as they delved deeper, they uncovered a chilling prophecy, foretelling of a time when the dead would rise and the living would tremble before their might. But even as they uncovered the truth, a new threat loomed on the horizon. Rumors spread of other cemeteries across the land experiencing similar disturbances, of graves opening and the dead walking once more. It became clear that Willowbrook was not alone in its plight, that the forces of darkness were gathering strength, biding their time until they could unleash their full fury upon the world. And so, Dr. Graves and his companions embarked on a journey to confront this new menace, to stand against the darkness and protect the innocent from its wrath. For they knew that as long as there were those willing to fight for what was right, hope would never truly be extinguished, and the light would always prevail against the shadows of the night. As Dr. Graves and his companions traveled from town to town, they encountered tales of horror and despair. Each cemetery they visited bore the same signs of disturbance, with graves torn asunder and the dead rising from their slumber. With each new encounter, the challenges grew more daunting, the enemies more powerful. They faced hordes of undead creatures, twisted abominations animated by dark magic, and even encountered other necromancers seeking to unleash chaos upon the world. But through courage and perseverance, Dr. Graves and his band of heroes prevailed, thwarting the plans of the dark forces at every turn. Along the way, they forged alliances with other brave souls who shared their cause, forming a coalition of warriors united in their quest to protect the innocent and vanquish evil. Finally, after countless battles and sleepless nights, they confronted the source of the darkness itself, a powerful sorcerer known only as the Shadow Master. In a climactic showdown, Dr. Graves and his allies faced off against the Shadow Master atop a desecrated altar, the fate of the world hanging in the balance. It was a battle of epic proportions, with magic crackling through the air and blades clashing against the darkness. But in the end, it was Dr. Graves who emerged victorious, casting down the Shadow Master and banishing his dark influence from the land once and for all. With the threat of the necromancers vanquished and the cemeteries restored to peace, Dr. Graves and his companions returned to Willowbrook as heroes, hailed as champions of light and justice. The townsfolk greeted them with open arms, grateful for their courage and sacrifice. And though the scars of their journey would never fully fade, Dr. Graves and his companions knew that they had done their part to protect the world from the forces of darkness. As they looked out over the peaceful town of Willowbrook, they knew that as long as there were those willing to stand against evil, hope would always prevail in the face of adversity.
Like, subscribe, and click on notifications that will allow you to stay up to date with the news and not miss videos from the channel, where there will be many more horror stories.